For numerical methods in analysis, okay, like a Fuente present. Okay. So for our first chapter, we have the introduction to numerical methods and analysis. Here, we will define ano ba daw yung numerical methods, what is the difference between numerical methods to analytical methods or analytical solution. We also need to we also define or differentiate accuracy and precision, error analysis, sources of errors. We also have a review regarding significant figures. So for our intended learning outcomes, at the end of this chapter, it is expected that the students will be able to, number one, define and recognize the difference between numerical methods and analytical methods. Nabanggit ko na yung kanina. Then in numerical methods, what are the processes involved in solving engineering problems? We will define mathematical models, what are the parameters or the variables that are needed to be that we need to know with regard to solving engineering problems, etc. Then familiarize themselves with error and error analysis, understand the concept of significant figures, but technically we'll just have a review on the significant figures. Also, we will discuss operations involving significant figures, addition, subtraction, division, as well as rounding of numbers. And lastly, differentiate accuracy and precision. How are this accuracy and precision related to the study of numerical analysis? Also, in this chapter, we will need to be able, we will also need to recognize the importance of numerical method in the field of engineering. Saan ba daw natin siya pwedeng i-apply? So, sabi dito, numerical analysis studies methods for computing numerical data often through repeated approximations. In this case, we will be only using approximations to get the true value of the problems that we need to solve. Mamaya kasi explain natin ano ba yung analytical solution. In numerical analysis kasi, we use different methods that employs repetitive approximations or repetitive formula using initial values, initial guesses. Ang mangyayari kasi dito, for example, you're given a mathematical problem, huhulaan mo daw muna kung ano yung sagot. Now, gamit yung hulang sagot na yon, we need to train that answer such that it would lead to the desired answer that the problem wants us to solve. Later on, gagawin daw natin yun. Makikita niyo daw kung ano yung sinasabi ko na mahuhula lang daw tayo. Or mag-iisip lang daw tayo ng number that would, na yun yung ating initial guess. So, key concerns in numerical studies includes the rate of conversions or the speed of finding the solution. Since this is an iterative solution, a repeated solution, there might be a problem na mahaba yung kanyang solution. Meron ding problem, maikli lang yung solution. Meron ding problem na kapag ginamit mo yung isang method in numerical analysis, madali mong makukuha yung solution. Meron namang numerical method na umabot ka na ng 100 iterations, saka mo palang makukuha yung sagot. Later on, I'll be showing you some examples of those kinds of situations wherein the rate of convergence or the speed in finding the solution varies depending on the type of method in numerical analysis that we are going to use. Hindi lang pala kayo. Ako din pala kasali. Then, the accuracy or validity of the result, when we say accuracy, tama ba siya or malapit ba siya doon sa true answer? Valid ba yung result natin at to what extent? And the completeness of the solution, whether the solution exists or not. Kasi may pagkakataon na yung initial guess ninyo would lead to you to no solution at all. May ganong pagkakataon. So, in the study of numerical analysis, dun sa gagawin natin numerical methods, there are some tests that we should do first before we proceed to the iteration or to the solution itself. Ganun daw yung gagawin natin dito. There are tests, there are logical tests, there are tawag dito, logical programming that we need to do first and during the entirety of the solution. So, kailangan medyo mag-iisip lang tayo dito. Numerical methods use approximations to solve mathematical problems. Now, yun, approximations daw. Ayan. Kasi, kung mapupunta tayo din sa ating solution later on the discussion, yung mga curved lines, i-approximate daw natin siya using straight line. So, the value of the curved line is approximated by a straight line. Pwede daw yun. Isa daw yung numerical method. Another numerical method is in numerical integration that if interpolation pala rather, that you're given data points and using that data points, you will convert that into a polynomial expression. Baliktad naman, di ba dati binibigay tayo ng polynomial expression, kukunin natin yung points. Baliktad, ang gagawin natin sa interpolation, you're given the points, you will find a polynomial expression that would best fit the given set of values. Meron din tayong approximation in finding the area of the curve. Kasi kung natatandaan nyo, nung nasa integral calculus kayo, you can find the value or the area or the volume of any given function using integral calculus. Dito hindi tayo gagamit ng integral calculus, but we will solve those area under such curves using numerical integration. Yun daw yung binabanggit kong numerical method. Often, when exact solutions are impossible or impractical to be obtained, numerical solutions or numerical methods are used. They focus on algorithms and processes that provides usable answer. O yan yung sinasabi ko kanina. We use logical tests, we use algorithms. Even if not exact, since this is approximation, the value na kukunin natin must be somewhat near the true value so that we can say that the answer is technically approximately equal to the answer when we use analytical solution. Naintindihan ba ako? Nasusundan ako? Sure ha, kapag meron ako magulong sinabi ha, pwedeng mag-butt in anytime. Sabi, ay sir, excuse me lang po, meron lang for clarification. O, ayun. So, ano ba daw yung analytical solution naman? Yung analytical solution is the exact mathematical answer to a problem. Ito daw kasi yung tawag dito, yung nakasanayan yung gawin. Yung itinuro sa inyo during elementary, high school, and yung early years nyo dito sa engineering. So lahat ng tinuro niya dun sa inyo, yun daw ay analytical solution. Unlike numerical solutions, yung analytical solution kasi exact yung sagot. While numerical solution, the result is approximate of the true value or the exact mathematical answer. Now, analytical solution is the exact solution to a mathematical problem expressed in closed form equation. Typically, it is derived using algebraic manipulations, calculus, and other mathematical techniques. It provides precise answer that can often be written in terms of elementary functions such as polynomials, exponentials, and trigonometric functions, or any functions that you know. Ano ba daw yung example ng mga analytical solutions? Okay, for example, we have an algebraic equation. In an algebraic equation here, you can solve directly the value of x using exact solution. Ang gagawin lang daw natin, we just need to add, or not add, but in this case, subtract 5 on both sides of the equation to get the value x is equal to 5. Subtract daw natin yung both sides of the equation by 5, then divide both sides of the equation by 2. O, ayun. Also, kagaya sinabi ko, yung tinuro sa inyo sa differential equations. Ordinary differential equations wherein you're given an initial value, y of 0 is equal to 2, pwede na daw makakuha ng exact solutions. Kung matatandaan nyo, yung solution to an ordinary differential equation is an exact solution. So, that falls under an analytical solution because the answer is exact. Integration problem. Yan, integral of sine of x dx. You can get it using series of theories in integral formula, and you'll arrive at negative cosine x plus c. And integration problem is important in solving for area and volume of given functions. Kung matatandaan nyo nasa integral calculus kayo. Also, in physics and engineering problems, pwede daw nating makuha the voltage across a charging capacitor in an RC circuit is equivalent to V of t is equal to V sub 0, 1 minus e raised to negative t all over RC, wherein yung 1 over RC natin is a time constant. So that's one example of an analytical solution. If yung example niyo sa transient, so this is a transient problem. This is solvable using differential equations. So yung sagot para sa differential equations is still falls under the analytical solution. So those are some examples of analytical solution. Where to ask numerical methods, we'll discuss that more on in chapter 2. Chapter 2, 3, 4. Doon natin siya i-discuss. Kasi there are many types of, there are different methods in numerical analysis depending on what problem are we going to solve. Ayan. I have here the 8th table. Ay, wait lang pala. Sabi ko nga pala sa inyo, I won't be giving you this presentation, but at least you can screenshot. Pwede kayo mag-screenshot, okay lang yon. Screenshot nyo muna. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bawal mag-mine. Mag-ano lang. Mag-screenshot. Hindi sesend sa akin to ha. Oh, para lang may time kayo. Oh. Next, 5, 4, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Screenshot na. Next. Ayun. Or habang nagsasalita ako, pwede niya siyang screenshot. Ayan. Next naman daw, we have the analytical solution. Ito yung tinabulate ko na yung difference between the two, the analytical and the numerical solution. Okay, by definition, sabi natin, an analytical solution gives an exact solution or answer to any problem. Either the exact solution is expressed in polynomial expression, in terms of calculus, differential equations, etc. Well, to the numerical solution, the answer is an approximate of the true value of any given problem using computational or iterative methods. Accuracy, provide exact result if solvable. Kasi in some cases, di ba mayroon tayong nilalagay not solvable or no solution. Ngayon, sa numerical methods, those problems, sasabi natin sa exact solution na no solution or no solution can either be solved using numerical solution. And since it only provides an approximate answer of the true result. And depending on the accuracy and depending on the number of data, the type of method to be used, and the accuracy of your solution, the accuracy of your the accuracy of the method itself pala, the accuracy of the solution may vary depending on kung ilang decimal ba yung ginamit ninyo, etc. Kasi di ba, kapag nagsosolve kayo, minsan, nag-aaway-away pa kasi magkakaiba daw ang sagot. Kasi yung pala, yung isa ang ginamit na sagot dun sa solution niya, 2 decimal places. Yung isa, 4 decimal places. Yung isa, hindi daw siya nag-round off. So, depending on how are you going to treat the solution, the accuracy of your final answer varies on those on those conditions. Yung sinabi ko kanina na rounding of numbers, yung number of decimal, one condition lang yun. There are many conditions pa which we will tackle as we go on with our discussions on the different methods of numerical analysis. Naintindihan ako? Sige. So, complexity. Yung analytical solution often limited to simpler or well-defined problems. So, commonly, yung analytical solution requires a specific formula in order for you to solve for that specific problem. While in numerical solution or numerical methods, some different methods can be used to solve a single problem. Ayun. Yun ang maganda kay numerical solutions. Very flexible siya. It can handle complex problems. It can handle, or a single problem can be solved with different methods. I'll show you that methods na ipapakita ko naman sa inyo na ay, ang isang problem pala pwedeng isolve ng kahit anong method. Yan. For computation, requires manual derivation or symbolic methods. Yan yung mga mag-derive kayo ng equation, mag-derive kayo ng solution, isi-simplify nyo yung equation. That's the downside of the analytical solution. Whereas in the numerical solution, although the downside naman in terms of computation of numerical solution is mahaba yung solution niya depending on the rate of convergence or the fast or how fast are you being near to the true solution, yun daw yung mahaba yung talaga yung computation ng numerical methods or numerical analysis, lalo na kung manual yung pagsasolve ninyo. But through the advancement of technology, we can use computational tools such as MATLAB, Python, SPICE, and we can also use Excel to aid on the tedious part or the long solution of numerical analysis. Ayun. Pero sa exam, siyempre, manual calculation tayo. Sa laboratory lang tayo mag-require ng MATLAB and Excel. So, ayun. Next, we have examples. O, nakapagbigay na ako ng example kanina. So, alam niyo na yon for the analytical solution. For the numerical methods, we have yan, Euler's method, the Runge-Kutta, the finite element method, the Newton-Raphson, the bracketing method, the Ophel method, graphical method, numerical integration, interpolation. Yun daw yung mga numerical solutions. Lahat ng binanggit ko, maliban dito sa Euler's, Runge-Kutta, i-discuss natin yan as we go on with the different methods that we use in numerical analysis. Use cases naman. That's for some simple equations. Kung sinabi tayo use cases, saan ba natin siya gagamitin? Sorry, excuse me. That's for simple equations now, standard functions, and exact models. While numerical solutions are used for large systems, typically, when we deal large number of data, yung dami-dami daw nating tabulated data, and other real problems that might exist. Later on, I'll discuss ano ba daw yung mga real-world problems na yan, where these numerical solutions can be used in practical applications. Kasi, depending on what job or what field you pursue after you graduate or after you pass your board exam, numerical methods may or may not be required or used in your field. I'll explain ko mamaya sa inyo kung ano yung mga yan when we go to the importance of numerical methods in problem solving, mathematical problem solving, in field of engineering, and then we limit that in the field of electrical engineering. Pakita ko siya mamaya. Time requirement. Analytical solution can be fast. Pero depending on the equation or depending on the functions given to you, mabilis lang daw. Pero kung hindi ka daw marunong mag-manipulate ng algebraic equation, hindi mo daw alam yung mga postulates and theorems with regard to the problem to be solved, hindi mo daw siya masosolve. Not unlike numerical solution, iterations and computation might be tedious or it may require more time, but sabi ko nga sa inyo, there are multiple methods that can be employed in or that can be used in solving a single problem. Na yung analytical solution kasi, di ba sabi natin, for a specific problem, meron lang daw tayong specific solution. Hindi daw kasi ganun kay numerical methods. Yun daw, isang problem can be solved by different methods. Then, we have flexibility. Limited, yung analytical solution is only limited when no closed form solution exists. And while numerical solution, it is highly flexible. It also applies to nonlinear and high-dimensional or data-driven problems. Kagaya naman na nabanggit ko kanina, if there are data which you want to treat or you want to find the value of data, kunyari, nasa load forecasting or nasa forecasting ka, you want to get the next data available, kaso nga, the next data after that, you can predict or you can approximate the value of the next data. O, ganun. Later on, i-discuss ko sa kanya saan ba daw ginagamit yung mga data-driven problems na yan, mga non-linear equations na solvable daw ni numerical solution sa sunod na slide. O sige, next slide naman, numerical methods, why are they essential? O bakit daw ba mahalaga ang numerical methods? Number one, handling complex problems. Many real-world problems, real-world systems, for example, fluid flow, structural analysis, and load flow analysis, cannot be solved exactly. Lalo na dito sa load flow analysis. Kapag nakarating kayo sa second sem, at kayo ay mga buhay pa, malalakas pa, nakasurvive, kung kayo ay next sem, meron na kayong, kung meron kayo, kung makukuha nyo na yung power system analysis, yung numerical method magagamit nyo doon in load flow analysis. O, ayun. Kasi sa load flow analysis, you'll be using either Gauss-Seidel method. Yun. Gagamit kayo ng Gauss-Seidel. And so, yun pa. So, numerical approximations are the only practical approach. O, ayun daw. Mamaya may example ako niyang ano yan. Kung ano bang itsura niyang load flow analysis na yan. Efficiency. They provide solution. Sorry. They provide solution faster than trying to derive exact formula. Kasi sa inyo, or karamihan sa atin, nahihirapang mag-derive ng formula. Dito, sa numerical method, derive na yung formula, ilalapat nyo na lang. Pero, yung sa discussion natin, I'll also be explaining to you how those formulas were derived. Saan ba nang galing? O, ayan. Next, accuracy and control. Methods can be designed to achieve a desired level of precision. So, depending on who calculates or depende sa inyo or sa akin, or kung sino nga nagka-calculate, you have the control on the accuracy and precision, on the level of precision on the solution na nagagamitin ninyo. Ngayon, when we say accuracy, the solution, hanggang gaano karaming iterations ba yung gagawin ko? May ganon. Later on, kapag pumunta tayo sa open methods and sa bracketing methods, tatanungin nyo ang sarili ninyo, accurate na ba yung sagot ko? Hanggang saan ba ako titigil ng pagsosolve? Kasi sabi ko nga kanina, this is a repetitive method of solution. Another accuracy control is, yun nga, yung kalimitang example ko, na yeah, depending on who computes, he or she can control the accuracy. For example, one student only consider 2 decimal places. The other student consider the 4 decimal places. Yung isa, hindi daw siya nag-round off, nag-store daw siya sa calculator. That means the accuracy of the control and the accuracy is much more, mas maano daw yung control ninyo or nasa sa inyo daw yung control kung gaano daw ka-precise yung solution ninyo. Kasi diba, kapag nag-compare kayo ng solution between kapag 2 decimal, 4 decimal places, and no rounding has been made in the solution, magkakaiba yung nakukuha yung sagot. Tama ano, kapag nagko-compare kayo, lalo na kapag exam. Tama ga. Walang umaamin. O, ayun. Baka yung nag-aaway pa na ano, na, dapat ang sagot ko ay ano, iba yung decimal place, iba yung point something ko. Yung naman pala, iba-iba ang ginamit na na decimal point. So, you can control the accuracy of your solution in that sense. So that is one. We will also study here in numerical methods. How are we going to control the accuracy of our solution? Next, we have broad applicability. They can be applied to equations, optimization, simulation, and data analysis across disciplines. Now, dito, sige, mamaya ko na lang explain yung yan sa mga optimization, simulation, and data analysis. Pag pumunta tayo sa applications or not application, importance of numerical methods in our field of study. Pero before that, let's have a 2-minute break. CR break muna yung iinom, iminom. Then, yung mag-CR, mag-CR. Let's have 2 minutes break. Sige, let us continue. Then, role of numerical methods in electrical engineering na tayo. So, number one, in circuit analysis. Numerical methods can be used for solving large networks in linear and nonlinear equations in power system and electronic circuits. One example nga ng tawag dito, ng usage ng ating, ng gamit ng numerical methods in power systems kasi ginagamit siya sa load flow analysis. Next is electromagnetic field problems such as yung Maxwell's equation which cannot be solved exactly. So numerical techniques such as the finite method and finite difference method. This is more on the integration are applied in transmission lines. Ayan, ginagamit daw yon. Now, power systems, kagaya na nabanggit ko kanina here, power systems daw. Pero in power systems, yung gamit talaga niya is essential for load flow analysis, fault analysis, stability analysis, and optimization of generation and distribution. Now, saan ba daw yung ginagamit sa totoong buhay? Ngayon, if kayo ay magtatrabaho sa systems operation, when we say systems operations, yun yung nasa transmission and distribution field. Magtatrabaho kay NGCP, kay Meralco, ayan, kay Batelec, at ang magiging trabaho nyo ay mga load analyst, load forecasting, ano pa ba? Reliability and stability of system. Ayan, gagamitin nyo siya kasi gamit na gamit yung mga yon sa load flow studies and sa stability analysis. May mga ganong topics. Actually, hindi ito dinidiscuss in undergraduate. More of those stability analysis and load forecasting, load analysis is taught in the graduate school kapag nag-masteral kayo. Also, optimization of generation. Kung magtatrabaho daw kayo kay generation sa mga power plants, optimization techniques using numerical methods can be used. Saan ba daw ginagamit yung optimization na yan? How are you going to optimize the input energy and the output energy? Kasi di ba sa power plant or sa system natin sa generation, meron tayong input power, meron tayong output. So in between, there are processes and there are losses that is being or that occurs in the process. Kaya meron tayong efficiency between the input and the output. So how are you going to maximize the output and minimize the losses in the system for both generation and distribution? That is optimization. Ngayon, sa power plant, dati nung nagtuturo ako ng power plant, I do teach optimization on the power generation. O, ayun. Sa distribution and transmission, nabanggit ko kanina, how are you going to minimize the loss in the transmission lines? Eh kapag hindi yung solvable ng tawag dito, ng exact solution kasi there are many data kasi ang gagawin nyo, meron kayong data, i-collate yung data na yon and you will treat those data such that yung makukuha yung analysis with those data can be used in the optimization or minimizing the loss on the transmission line. O may mga ganun. Actually, one of my topic dati dapat ko, itinulog yung masteral ko, is optimization ng transmission line. Minimizing the transmission losses using compensators, mga ganun. Oh, that study is makukuha niyo siya after niyo makagraduate. Hindi talaga siya tinuturo dito. Or matututunan niyo siya as you go on if you pursue those fields that I mentioned earlier. Ano pa ba? Kapag nagtrabaho kayo kay WESM, yung wholesale electric spot market, kapag nagtrabaho kayo doon or kay Batelec, kailangan marunong kayong mag load flow analysis, and the same time, load forecasting. You need to forecast or to approximate what would be the next load on the next few hours. Kasi ang generation natin and scheduling ng tawag dito, ang scheduling ng ating kuryente ay ini-schedule ahead of time. So kung hindi ka marunong mag-load forecasting at ayun ang trabaho mo, at ang iyong na tawag dito, na forecast na load ay mababa doon sa actual demand during the next few hours, aba patay ka. Maraming kuryente or maraming tawag dito, maraming establishments ang mawawala ng kuryente. Kung mababa yung demand mo na forecast, kung mataas naman yung forecasted mo demand, tatawag ang maapektuhan naman yan sa generation. Kasi in generation, tawag dito, ini-schedule kasi yan, hindi lahat ng power plant tumatakbo sabay-sabay. Depende daw sa demand, din sa next hour, i-schedule kung aling generator ang tatakbo. Eh ngayon, kung sobrang taas nung na-forecast mong generation, lahat ng plantang yon magbubukas, magpapatakbo sila ng kuryente sa grid. Eh kung kung may surplus doon sa generation na ibinato sa grid, maraming losses kasi walang tatanggap noong excess generated power. So, mahalaga malaman ninyo yung mga ganon kasi depending doon sa trabaho ninyo, magagamit nyo yung pinag-aralan nyo dito sa college. Pero kung pupunta kayo sa construction, sa design, ay nako, din ito gagamitin. Unless nasa design ka talaga and you handle load flow studies. Yan din mo lang siya magagamit. Pero modern techniques uses ETAP in solving for load flow studies and fault analysis. Pero syempre, dapat may alam ka. Yun. Pero construction, sa site, ako di mo gagamitin itong numerical methods. Ayun. So, ayan, yan yung mga roles ni numerical methods sa electrical engineering. So, ano pa ba daw? Signal and process control. Approximation methods are used in filter design, numerical integration, and solving differential equations in control systems. Now, if mapunta kayo sa feedback control, o ayun, magagamit ko daw to sa feedback control. Pero ang pinagagamit nata doon, yung madalas Laplace. Simulation and modeling. So, software like MATLAB, SPICE, Python, ANSYS rely heavily on numerical methods to simulate real-world electrical and electronic systems. And also, yung inyong calculator, yung calculator ninyo, nag-numerical analysis yan, din nyo lang pansin. So, kapag gumamit tayo ng calculator next time, ipapakita ko sa inyo kung paano nag-numerical analysis. Or, hindi niya makikita pala kasi numerical method is embedded on the process of your calculator in calculating values. Ipakita ko sa inyo, meron doon. Pero hindi makikita siyempre yung process step by step naman. Ang ibig ko lang sabihin, yung calculator natin works in the theory and principles of numerical methods and analysis. So, ano ba daw ibig sabihin nga? Numerical methods help electrical engineers analyze complex systems, improves accuracy, and save time, making modern design and simulation possible. Additional reasons why we should study numerical methods are, ayan, screenshot nyo na lang, self-explanatory naman yan. Numerical methods are undoubtedly one of the most powerful tools available. Kasi nga, kung mahirap yung problem, you will resolve to an easier solution, which is numerical method. Commercial computer programs involve numerical methods are available. Kasi sabi ko nga, available na. Kailangan lang marunong kayong mag-programming. Many problems cannot be solved using the readily available computer programs. Numerical methods are an efficient vehicle for learning to use computers. And lastly, numerical methods deliver a way for you to strengthen your understanding of mathematics. O, ayan. General lang naman. O, yan ha, baka sa exam, meron doon, identification, enumeration, what is the importance of of numerical methods in engineering. O, ang dami kong binanggit. Ilan-ilan yan. Mga walang maisagot doon. O, sunod. Naintindihan niya ako doon sa importance, sa role. May tanong? O, sige, let us proceed to hanggang alas 11 lang tayo, no? Engineering problem solving. So, in engineering problem solving, meron tayong dalawang era. Yung letter A, please take note, letter A is the pre-computer era. This is how the people nung nakaraang panahon, ganito daw sila mag-solve. Ngayon, yung mga modern tao, ganito daw mag-solve. Ano daw pagkakaiba nilang dalawa? Kung mapapansin daw natin, during the pre-computer era, yung burden or yung time ay napupunta daw sa paggagawa ng solution. Since there are no available computers na magko-compute para sa inyo, yung mga tao daw, mano-mano daw nila kino-compute. So, it takes time. Elaborate and often complicated method to make problem tractable. Ayun. It consumes time daw. So that hindi pa therefore, such that yung formulation or yung fundamentals in explaining the laws and theories that to be applied in the solution and the interpretation, analysis of the results based doon sa fundamental laws ay hindi masyadong napagbibigyan ng panahon kasi naubos na daw ng pagsosolve, ng paggagawa ng solution. Ngayon naman daw, during modern era, since computer methods or there are there are computers, calculators available, madali na daw yung pagsosolve. Pinahayaan na, ang ginagawa daw natin, itinitid na lang daw natin doon sa computer yung data, siya na yung bahalang mag-calculate. Kapag bibigyan or nabibigyan ng mas importansya at ng kapanahon, yung formulation, nagkakaroon ng in-depth exposition of relationship of fundamental laws. O yun daw mga laws governing principles sa bibigyan daw ng importansya. Doon daw natutuon yung panahon. And also, interpretation, since there is an ease in the calculation, interpretation of the data or the results are easy. Kasi kapag ipinasok mo yung problem mo doon, kinumplete niya, maglalabas siya ng table, maglalabas siya ng graph, mas madali mo daw siyang mai-interpret. O, yun daw ang pagkakaiba ng during pre-computer era and computer era. Mas madali na daw yung pagsosolve ngayon. O di ba nga ginagawa niyo pa kapag kapag may problem, tatanungin si Gemini at saka si ChatGPT, please solve ganyan-ganyan. O di ba nagsosolve na sila ngayon? Kasi ikaw na lang, interpret mo na lang yung solution. O, totoo yun. Actually, ako din gumagamit din naman ng ChatGPT. Pero not always. Kasi there are some cases na yung ChatGPT, hindi niya kayang i-treat yung malalaking data or complex problems. Kailangan pa rin ng human intervention kapag si ChatGPT at si Gemini. Pero if there are some problems na kayang i-solve niya, sinasolve naman. So, kayo na lang, ang gagawin nyo, ito lang naman kasi is example, Na meron kayong problem na ipined kay AI, then ang gagawin nyo lang, i-verify nyo if the solution or the steps are correct. So, mas madali nyo naiintindihan daw. Mas madali nyo nai-interpret ano ba daw yung ginawa ng AI. So, pero case-to-case basis lang yun. Hindi lahat ng pagkakataon AI is good. AI is helpful, but it is only limited to if the person using the AI knows what the AI results give you. Pero dapat alam mo pa rin kung or nasa sa'yo pa rin yung decision whether you will accept the result provided by the AI. Now, let's proceed to engineering problem-solving process. In engineering problem-solving process, ayan, may process kasi tayo ng pagsasolve ng engineering problem. Parang yung natutunan nyo nung kayo ay nasa elementary. Di ba may process ng pagsasolve ng mathematical problem? Una, given, then identify the unknown, then write the formula, then write the solution, then final answer. If you can still remember your elementary days. Okay, may process daw. Ngayon, dito sa engineering, may problem solving din. First is to define what is the problem. For example, the problem is what is the voltage across the series RC circuit. Yun daw yung problem. So, ang kailangan nyo daw ma-determine doon, ano ba daw yung unknown. The unknown is the voltage across the RC circuit daw. Ngayon, you will need to provide or to make a mathematical model. When we say mathematical model, it is a formula. Na yung formula would depend on the theories and principle that govern the problem that is at hand. For example, the problem nga is the find the voltage across the series resistance, the series RC circuit. May kadugtong pa yun. Time is equal to 1 second. O yan, the transient problem daw pala yun. So, lahat ng theory daw na alam ninyo with regard to transient problems involving RC circuit, i-convert nyo daw siya into a mathematical model. So, after determining daw yon, gumamit daw kayo ng differential calculus, differential equations, or gumamit kayo ng Laplace transform, nag-arrive daw kayo dun sa formula kanina. Vp is equal to V sub O multiplied by 1 minus E raised to negative 2 all over RC. O, yun daw yung nakuha mo. Yung sinabi kong yon na formula, that is a mathematical model. A mathematical model is a representation of the worded problem or the real problem into a mathematical formula in terms of dependent and independent variables. Later on, I will also be discussing what a mathematical model is. Pero technically speaking, or a little bit technically speaking, in layman's term, a mathematical model is a formula that would solve your problem. Nagkakaintindihan ang ibig sabihin ng mathematical model? Mathematical model is a technical term. Ang layman's term, formula pala ang yun. Nagkakaintindihan? So that formula or that mathematical model, upon application of the theories, pwede nyo daw ipasok yung mga data. Ano ba daw data required ninyo? Kailangan nyo ng value ng resistance, ng capacitance, and the initial voltage of the circuit at time is equal to 0. O di yun. Oh, that's just an example. Then you have problem-solving tools. You can use computers, you can use numerical methods, you can use graphical methods, etc. So itong tools na to, ito yung gagawin natin pala dito sa numerical methods. Yan, yung mga tools na yan. Then after that, you will get, after the solution, you will get a numerical result or a graphical result depending on the type of required solution that you will be asked or na nai-ask sa inyo. It can be either a graphical or it can be a exact numerical value or approximate value in terms of numerical methods. O, ayun. Then, societal interferences, scheduling optimization, etc. Kung yun ba daw, kung saan mo daw siya gagamitin. Kung optimization ba, communication, in this case, in solving the problem lang naman ng transient voltages. Although transient voltages that is important, the study of transient voltages is important in the in closing and opening of a circuit. Lalo na sa mga substations. Kasi when you close and open a circuit, there might be some surge voltages and surge current that the system might experience na malaki ang impact doon sa connected loads. O, explain na lang yung matuturo sa inyo sa susunod. O, yun. So, ayun yung binabanggit dito sa sa implementation. Kung ano ba daw yung impact noong inyong mga nung problem na yon doon sa societal sa real world application. So, yun. Ganun daw nagsosolve daw ng problem. Anong engineering problem? Yung problem definition, then a mathematical problem is produced, then you treat the mathematical model, then you get the result, and then you interpret the result whether it has an impact or it has, meron ba daw siyang significant impact on the system. Ganyan. Or in the real world problem that you want to address. Punta tayo sa mathematical modeling. Yung mathematical modeling naman is a physical problem which you have in your daily life. O, ayun. Yung sinabi ko kanina. May problem ka daw. Ang gagawin kasi ng mathematical modeling, i-convert na daw niya yung problem na yon into a formula. If you convert the physical problem into by applying the basic principle of science, basically known as the mathematical modeling. Ang madaling example ng mathematical modeling na to is yung inyong worded problem. Kung matatandaan nyo nung kayo daw ay nasa high school, gumagawa na daw kayo ng mathematical model, hindi nyo lang pansin. For example, ang problem, Maria is twice as old as Anna when she was 2 years ago. Di ba may ganun kayong problem? Natatandaan nyo yun. Na gagawin nyo, yung worded problem na yon, i-convert nyo into a mathematical sentence. Na ang mathematical sentence ko niya, 2x minus 3 plus 3x plus 2 is equal to 52. Mga ganon. Yun ay isang example kung paano kayo na gumagawa ng mathematical model. A worded problem or a problem at hand is converted into a mathematical model, a mathematical formula. O, ayun. Ano ba laman niyang mathematical model na yan? O, mamaya pala, nasa kablang side pa pa yung laman. Example muna pala. Ayan, power flow equations. O, ayan, yan yung sinasabi ko sa inyong power flow. Ohm's law. Ohm's law is a formula which represents a mathematical model for the relationship of the voltage and the resistance. At the relationship nila ay yung current. O, yun. Yun daw yung mathematical model. Optimization models and load forecasting models. Those are examples of mathematical models. Yung mga formula daw dyan, lang mga ibig sabihin niya. Sunod. Ayan. Ano ba daw meron sa mathematical model? Mathematical model can be defined as formulation or equation that expresses the essential features of a physical system or process in mathematical terms, wherein it is explicitly tawag dito, nawala, nasa dulo ng dila ko, di ko masabi. It is explicitly defined by the relationship between dependent and independent variables. So, kasi sabi natin, in our example, for the Ohm's law, I is equal to V over R. The dependent variable there is your current, and it is dependent on the values of the voltage and the resistance. Kaya nga siya I is equal to V over R. Ayun, yung nasa left side ng ating formula or ng ating mathematical model are always referred to as the dependent variable, and the values or the unknown and the not unknowns, unknown nga yung dependent eh. And the values on the other side of the equation of a mathematical model represents the independent variables. O, ayan. So, meron tayong parts ng mathematical models, the dependent variable, the independent variables, parameters, and forcing functions. Sabi natin, dependent variable characteristics that shows the behavior or state of a system. And independent variable on the other hand indicates the dimensions such as time, space along with the system behavior is being determined. So, yung sa ating equation I is equal to V over R, yung independent variable natin are the voltages and the resistance. And the parameters reflective of the system properties or compositions. Ang parameters naman natin is kung ang independent variables natin are the voltage and the resistor, the parameters are the resistance and the voltage itself. Kung ano ba yung value ng ating voltage and value ng ating resistance in order for us to get the amount of current in that particular problem. And lastly, we have the forcing functions, external influences acting upon the system. Now, in a mathematical model, it may or may not have forcing functions. Depending on the problems to be or the problem to be solved, you might have or might not have these forcing functions. O ayun. O yan lang naman yung simple mathematical model definition. O sige. Let's have another 2-minute break. CR lang ulit ako. Then we proceed to significant figures. Okay, let us now proceed to review of significant figures. Ready lang naman to, mabilis lang. Mamaya na lang yung mga present. Sige. Okay. Before I end pala yung discussion, mag-check ulit ako ng attendance. Baka mga nawala na kayo. Okay, for significant figures kasi, ayun, significant figures or significant digits are defined as the digits or are the digits in a number that carry meaningful information about precision. They include all certain digits plus the first uncertain estimated digit in a measurement. O definition lang naman yan. Now, two important implications of significant figures for the study of numerical methods. Number one, numerical methods give approximate results. So certain criteria like significant figures are used to measure confidence in the accuracy on accepting a result if it is correct to for significant figures. O yun yung sinasabi kong rounding off. Kailan ba tayo magra-round off? Ayun. Quantities such as pi, e, or the Euler's number e, square root of 7 and other irrational numbers cannot be expressed exactly by a limited number of digits. Some of you might use 3.14 as the value of pi. Some might use 3.1416 or yung iba gagamitin daw yung yung nasa calculator na constant. So, depending on how do you treat the significant figures and those quantities, it may affect, or it will affect pala, hindi pala may, it will affect the value of your final answer. So yun, kaya nagkakaroon daw tayo ng differences in the solution if we compare it to other na gumawa din ng ganang solution. Kasi yun nga sabi ko, ang consideration isa 3.14 lang, yung isa up to 4 decimal places, 3.1416, yung isa hindi daw nag-round off. Rules and significant figures. Number one, all non-zero numbers are significant. Basta kahit ano daw counting numbers, they are significant. For example, number 33.2 or 32.2 has three significant figures since all of these are non-zero digits. So, three significant figures daw. Madali lang naman naiintindihan. Next, zeros between two non-zero digits are significant. In the example 2051, wherein we have four significant figures. The value or the zero digit in between 2 and 5 is considered significant because it is in between two non-zero digits. For example, 10,001. There are 5 significant figures in the number 10,001 because the 3 zeros are in between two non-zero digits. Basta lahat daw lang nasa gitna ng dalawang non-zero digit considered as significant. Leading zeros are not significant. They are nothing more than placeholders. Please disregard itong 2051 na to, na copy-paste lang yan. Dito tayo magsimula sa the number 0.54 has only two significant figures. At yung 0.0032 also has two significant figures. All the zeros leading the number or the non-zero digit is considered as not significant. So dito, sa 0.54, itong nasa unahan ng ating decimal point, hindi daw natin siya i-consider. Ganon din daw ito, 0.0032, lahat ng nasa unahan na 0 ng ating 3 or ng ating non-zero digit considered as not significant. Pero paano kapag ang nangyari dyan is 1.0032? How many significant figures do you have? 1.0032. Ilan yon? Anyone? If you're given ng, sige, pwede magsalita, okay lang. No need to, Sige, Mr. Lotte.
Sir, try lang po. 5 ka po.
Okay, 5 is correct. Because, kunyari, itong 0 na to, imagine nyo na lang naging 1 yan. 1, 0, 0, 3, 2. By rule 2, lahat daw ng 0 sa pagitan ng non-zero digit ay significant. Kasi may 1 ka na dito, tapos nasa pagitan siya ng 1 at 3. So, itong dalawang 0, mabibilang na siya. So, yun lang yung paraan para maging significant yung mga zeros on a isang paraan yung mga zeros ay maging significant in a in a given set of number. Sunod. O yan. O, paki-screenshot na lang. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next slide na tayo. Next. Trailing zeros to the right of the decimal are significant. For example, yung 92.00 has 4 significant figures. Pag sinabi natin trailing zeros after the decimal, or trailing zeros, yun daw ay yung mga zero after the decimal point. Yun daw 92.00 is different from just 92. Kasi kung meron daw dalawang scientist, yung dalawang scientist daw na yun, iba daw yung tingin. Yung tingin ng isa, 92 lang daw ang nababasa niya. Yung isa, ang kaya niyang basahin, 92.00 ang basa niya. Or kung tumaas man, ay kaya magbasa ng isa ng 92.58. Ngayon, sa dalawa, alin ang mas accurate? Yung 92 lang ang nababasa o yung 92.58? Which do you think is much accurate? 1 or 2? O yung 9.58 daw. Kasi yung 92, limited lang yung nababasa niya. Yung 92.58 hanggang doon sa 2 decimal places hanggang 100th place, nakikita daw nung kanyang mata. O di ba? Sobrang linaw ng mata. Sana all. O, ayun. Kaya daw, mahalaga daw yung significant figures. Okay. Ayan. Trailing zeros in a whole number with a decimal shown are significant. Kanina kasi, sige, mamaya pala. Nasa sunod pala yung slide. Sige, ipakita ko na nga lang. Ayan. Ayan. Nakalagay kasi dito, trailing zeros in a whole number with a decimal shown are significant. For example, yung ating 540 with a decimal point here, bibilangin mo na daw yung 0. Therefore, 540 decimal point, we have 3 significant figures. Kasi yung susunod na rule, ayan, trailing zeros in a whole number with no decimal shown are not significant. So for 540 without a decimal point, we will only consider 5 and 4 as significant values or significant figures. So dito, 2 lang ang ating significant figures. Take note kapag may decimal point at walang decimal point. Yun lang ang pagkakaiba nilang dalawa. On next, exact numbers have an infinite number of significant figures such that yung 1 meter can be represented as 1.00, can be represented as 1.0000, or 1.0. So that gives us a counting number, gives you a significant, infinite significant values. For example, 2, pwedeng 2.00, 2.00000. Pero, kalimitan din naman natin ang ginagamit. Sinasabi lang nila. That is rule number 7. Let's proceed to the last rule, rule number 8. Ayan. For a number in a scientific notation, n by or n multiplied by 10 raised to x, all digits comprising n, itong n lang na to, are significant by rules 1 to 6. So kung ano yung rules natin to 1 to 6 will apply to this n. and yung ating 10 and yung ating power of x are not considered as significant figures. And for example, or this rule number 8 provides opportunity to change the number of significant figures in a value by manipulating its form. For example, you are asked to rewrite 110 or 1,100 with three significant figures. Okay, let us inspect this 1,100. How many significant figures are there in 1,100? Ilan daw? How many significant figures meron daw tayo sa 1,100? Dalawa daw. Dalawa by first roll and yung sa trailing zeros, ayan. Yung non-zero digit lang daw yung ating bibilangin. And all trailing zeros are not considered. Eh wala naman ditong decimal point, so wala talaga itong dalawang zero na to. Ay, hindi. So, dalawa lang daw siya. Pero pinagagawa daw sa atin, kailangan daw natin siyang i-express into three significant figures. Now, if we try to put, if we add the decimal to the end, ayan, ang mangyayari naman kapag may decimal daw by rule number 5, we'll have four significant figures. Bibilangin na daw natin yung dalawang zeros. Pero hindi pa rin daw natin nakuha yung ating requirement na kailangan daw 3 significant figures. Doon daw papasok yung ating scientific notation. We can rewrite 1,100 to 1.10 times 10 to the positive 3. Ito, 10 times 10 to the positive 3 ito ha, paki-note na lang siya. Now, since 10 to the positive 3, according to rule 8, are not considered as significant, ang titingnan na lang daw natin ay itong part na to. So, 1.10, all the values here are significant. All trailing values or all zeros trailing the decimal point is significant. So, this value, 1.10 times 10 to the 3, gives us 3 significant figures. Pwede rin naman itong 4, dinagdagan nyo ng 0 pa din. 1 times 10, 1.100 times 10 to the positive 3. For significant siya. Pwede din 5, dinagdagan nyo lang ng dagdagan ng 0 sa dulo. Kasi sabi natin, all trailing zeros after the decimal point are significant. Ayun. Pwede daw yun. Mababago nga lang yung power niyo. Next, ito, yung calculate nito one significant figure, sige, huwag na lang natin i-calculate kasi i-discuss ko muna yung sa division kasi there is a rule in dividing significant numbers and rounding off significant numbers. So, for example, ito na lang. How many significant figures do we have in 0.0075? Itong muna. Ilang significant figure dyan? Anyone? You can just type your answer if you cannot open your mind. I can see your answer naman. How many significant figures are there? 2 daw. Okay, tama naman yung 2. So, yung 0 sa unahan, leading zeros, hindi daw natin siya i-consider. I-consider lang daw natin yung 7 and 5. How about 0.0000715? How many significant figures are there for this number? Ilan yan? O, 3. Kasi kagaya ng kanina, okay, that is correct. Kagaya ng kanina, lahat ng leading zeros, hindi natin bibilangin yung 7, 1, at 5 lang. Skip ko muna yan. Kasi meron akong example ng operations. O, ito, state the number of significant figures for 350.701. How many significant figures do we have here? Anim. Okay, tama naman 6. Because yung dalawang 0 are in between 2 non-zero digits. So they are to be considered as significant. How about number or this value, 67.030 kilograms? How many significant figures? Okay, that is correct. 5. 5 naman kasi siya by by rule, if a if a zero digit, if a zero is in between two, tawag dito, to non-zero digits, bibilang naman talaga natin itong zero na to. Or, isa pang rule, all trailing zeros after the decimal point or on the left of the decimal point are considered as significant. Eh, di ba? Di pala on the left, on the right pala. On the right of the decimal point are significant. So, yung dalawang zero na to, since nasa kanan siya or it falls, it is after the decimal point, kasama daw siya sa significant. Okay, punta tayo sa mathematical rules for significant figures. For mathematical rules for significant figures, we have addition and subtraction. Ito daw yung rule. When adding or subtracting numbers, the number of significant figure in the result is determined by the position relative to the decimal point of the least significant figure of the numbers being added or subtracted. Okay, for example, dito muna tayo sa addition. Add daw 472.1, 3.192, and 5,000.86. The first thing you need to do, kung nakaganyan daw yung itsura, yung horizontal daw yung itsura ng addition, it is advisable or is it suggest that you write this in a vertical manner. Ay, parang nag-a-add tayo ng grade 1, pababa. O, ayan. Tapos, ang gagawin niyo daw, pagkatapat-tapatin niyo daw lahat ng decimal point. Pag napagtapat-tapat niyo na siya, you add. O, di you add lang. Yung normal na pag-a-add. After yung mag-normal na mag-add, the resultant or the result is 5,476.152. Pero hindi pa daw dyan natatapos yung solution. Kasi the resulting number or the significant figure in the resulting number is determined relative to the position of the decimal point of the least significant figure. Kung titingnan daw natin, kaya daw kung pinagtapat-tapat siya, kasi doon daw sa kanan ng aking decimal point, titingnan ko daw, alin daw yung may least significant figure. So, sa 472.1, sa kanan daw, kanan lang ha, di natin papansinin yung whole number. Ang papansinin lang natin ay yung decimal point. Yung decimal point ng unang number has only one significant figure after the decimal point. Yung 3.192, may tatlong significant figure after the decimal point. Yung pangatlo, 5,086, may dalawang significant figure after the decimal point. So, kukunin daw natin yung list. Since the list has only one significant figure in the decimal place, therefore, the correct answer must be expressed in the, or must be rounded off to the nearest tenth place. O ayan, dito daw. And since 1 is to be rounded off, titingin daw ako dun sa katabi niya. Sabi niya sa kanan ay 5, you round up. So that is why our answer is 5,476.2. Nagkakaintindihan kung bakit daw nagkaganon ang pag-a-add. Paliwanag ha? Okay. Sige. Next. Pero later on, I'll be discussing din, may rule kasi kapag nagra-round off, pag ang katabi niya ay 5, may restriction pa yan. Mamaya, nandito. Pero in this case, tama pa naman yan. subtract 126.5419 from 8,000. So, 8,000 minus, ipila ulit daw natin siya. Now, dito, huwag nyo lalagyan ito ng decimal point. Walang binigay na decimal point sa given. Lalagyan nyo lang siya ng decimal point kapag meron sa given. Kasi, yung significant number nito is not the same as significant number kapag may tuldok, di ba? Na-discuss ko kanina. Rule 5 and 6 yon. So, ang gawin ko daw muna, isubtract ko. 8,000 minus 1,126.5419. So, our answer is 7,873.4581. Now, by rule, determine ko daw yung least number of significant figures after the decimal point. Sa 8,000 ba may decimal point? Wala, no? Di ba wala? So, kung wala, the least decimal or the least significant figure is to be considered itong 8,000 na. Kasi the least significant figure pa rin is 1. O, hindi ko napapakalman kasi wala na pong tuldok eh. Ito, hindi ko napapansinin. Ito na lang. Because 8,000 has only one significant figure, yan, 4 places to the left of the decimal point. Kasi wala naman tayong decimal point nga. So, consider na lang natin siya na 1 yung significant figure ng 8,000. The least significant figure in the final answer must also have 4 places to the left of the decimal point. So, the correct answer is 8,000. Kasi ito ng significant, ng significant, ng significant, ang significant lang ay itong 8. So, although our answer is 7,873.4584, the correct answer is 8,000. Kapag ganyan yan. Pero, imagine daw natin may tuldok dito. So, kung may tuldok daw dito, there is a 4 significant figure. So, kung may 4 significant figure daw siya, dito sa decimal, dito sa taas, so, yung decimal places natin dito naman sa kanan, wala siya. So, we will round off our answer to the nearest tens place, dito sa 3. Kasi meron ng tuldok dito. Kung lalagyan natin ang decimal point. Kanina walang decimal point, kaya dito tayo nag-round off sa pinaka malaki. Ngayon, may decimal point na daw, or if we assume na may decimal point na dito, the answer shall be rounded off to the nearest decimal place on the left of the decimal point. So, itong 3. So, magiging sagot, since ang katabi niya dito ay 4, we round down. So, 7,873 ang sagot if merong tuldok or may decimal point dito sa 8,000. Is that clear? Okay, review lang naman. Okay, next, multiplication and division, technically they're just the same. Multiplying or dividing daw significant figures, the number of significant figures in the resultant is determined from the number of significant figures in the least significant value. Kanina kasi, ang tinitreat lang natin is the significant digits after the decimal. Ito, kapag multiplication and division, we will treat all. We will consider the value itself. So here, 88.037 multiplied by 0.00721, again, multiply lang daw natin siya normally, and we'll get this value. So, ang gagawin daw natin, we'll take the significant figures of the multiplier and the multiplicand. In here, 88.0, yung multiplicand natin, 88.037, has 5 significant figures. Compared to the multiplier, 0.0721, which only have 3 significant figures. Yung 721 lang yung bibilangin natin. all leading zeros, i-drop down natin siya, hindi bibilang. So, the least significant figure here is itong ating multiplier. So, the final answer must be expressed in 3 significant figures only. So, our answer, 634, 4 should be rounded up since ang katabi daw niya ay 7. Kaya, ang sagot ay 0.635. Did you get that? Ayun. So, ganoon lang din kapag magdi-divide. Kapag magdi-divide naman, di babaguhin nyo lang yung operation, pero same pa rin. You need to count which of the divisor and the dividend has the least significant figure. So, kung alin yung pinaka-least na significant figure, yun yung number of decimal places or number of significant figure of the final answer. O rounding of number, if the digits to be dropped is greater than 5, add 1. O di ang ibig sabihin daw nun, kung meron daw akong 12.6, 12.7, 12.8, 12 round up tayo, magiging 13. Yung typical yung pag-round up. Tanda pa yon. O sige. Kapag naman daw, digit is less than 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0, retain. Kunyari, tawag dito, 12.4, 12.3, 12.2, 12.1. If we round up, we round the decimal place, magre-remain siya. Or round down tayo, maging 12 lang lahat yon. Nagkakaintindihan? Next naman, if the digit is to be dropped is 5, and if any digit following it is a non-zero, the last remaining digit is increased by 1. So for example, 12.51 can be rounded to 13. Ayun, kasi yung 5 kasi yung ating i-drop. Ayun. Ano naman siya. Kaso nga lang, may kakaibang rule. If the digit to be dropped is 5 and is followed only by zeros, the remaining digit is increased by 1 if it is add. And, tawag dito, even naman daw kapag, as is daw kapag even. O for example, balikan ko lang yung kanina. Sige, pakita ko na lang. So, dito daw sa unahan, if the digit to be dropped is 5, and if any digit following that is non-zero, kunyari may katabi pa siya, kagaya 12.51, 12.52, 12.53, 12.54, 12.55, ayun, 56, 57, 59, round up daw tayo lagi. If nearest ones yung ating, kasi i-drop natin is 5. Kung i-drop natin is 5, pero may kasunod pa siya na either 1, 2, 3, or 4, o basta kung marami pa siyang kasunod, lagi tayong round up. Pero, kapag ang digit ay na i-drop ay 5 at walang katabi, wala daw siyang, ang kasunod daw niya ay 0. For example, 11.5. Ang i-drop ko daw ay 5. Pero ano daw yung katabi ng 5 doon sa kanan? Kung 11.5 siya, di ba 1? Kasi 11.5. Ang katabi niya, na kanan pala, ang katabi niya sa kaliwa ay 1. 1 is what? Add or even? Ano ba ang 1? Add ba yan o even? Add daw. O sabi dito, followed only by 0. The last remaining digit is increased by 1. So 11.5, if we drop 5, or if we rounded yung 5, at ang katabi niya sa kaliwa ay add, ang sagot natin ay 12. Mag-a-add tayo ng 1. Nagkakaintindihan? Maliwanag na. Kaso nga lang, kapag even, for example, 12.5, yung 5 ulit yung dadap natin yung 0.5, ang katabi niya ay even. Kasi 12.5 ang katabi niya sa kaliwa ay even, so the value is to be rounded and be equal to 12 pa rin. O, yun ang pagkakaiba yun ang rule sa 5. May dalawang rule sa 5 ha. Kapag mayroon siyang katabing digit sa kanan at wala siyang katabi sa kanan. O, ayun. So, yun lang naman yung surrounding. Sige. Then, last na to. I-discuss ko lang yung accuracy and precision. So, for accuracy and precision, ano ba daw meaning yan? Accuracy refers to how closely a computed or measured value agrees with the true value, while precision refers to how closely individual computed or measured agrees with each other. Yun ang pagkakaiba ni accuracy and precision. Accuracy is kino-compare natin siya sa true value. Kung gaano daw kalapit yung ating nakukuhang sagot dun sa tamang value. While precision is meron daw tayong mga nakuhang sagot at yung mga nakuhang sagot natin na yon ay magkakalapit sa isa't isa. Nagkakaintindihan. Yun ang pagkakaiba ni accuracy and precision. Now, in this model, this represents different situations wherein or this illustrates the concept of accuracy and precision per se. For example, meron daw tayong dartboard. Now, sa dartboard, di ba, yung ating goal is maka-bullseye or dito sa gitna. Ayan. So, ngayon, itong letter A, kung mapapansin nyo, kalat-kalat daw yung aking or yung tama daw ng dart dun sa board. Meron pa ngang lumabas sa board. Ibig sabihin daw yan, yung accuracy niya, very low. Kasi dapat, sa loob lang siya tatama dito sa loob ng dartboard. At kung maaari pa nga, dito lang siya dapat sa gitna or concentrated sa gitna daw dapat yung kanyang tira to say that he is accurate. Hindi rin daw siya precise kasi yung tama niya ay hindi daw magkakapareha sa iba-iba daw position. Nung tumira daw siya, yung kanya daw dart, iba-iba daw yung pinuntahan. So, itong letter A is inaccurate and imprecise. Hindi na daw siya accurate, hindi pa daw siya precise. Ayun. Punta tayo sa letter B. Sa letter B naman daw, yung nakuha daw niya yung goal niya. Kasi ang goal daw natin, yung mga dart, nasa sa loob daw ng ating, nung ating dartboard. Kaso nga lang, kung mapapansin nyo, ang kanyang tira magkakahiwalay pa rin daw. So, yung precision daw niya, mababa. In terms of accuracy, medyo mataas daw yung kanyang accuracy kasi napapasok niya daw lahat dun sa dartboard. Pero yung kanyang precision, hindi daw siya magaling umasinta. Yung ibig sabihin ng precision, hindi siya magaling umasinta. Ayun. So ito can be considered as accurate but not precise. Sa letter B. Sa letter C, ayan, mapapansin nyo, yung kanyang tira is magkakalapit na siya. Kaso nga lang, malayo daw siya dun sa target. Kasi yung target natin itong gitna. So, ito naman daw, pwede natin sabihin na mataas yung kanyang precision pero hindi siya accurate. Kasi yung accuracy, dapat daw, at least, nandito siya sa gitna. And lastly, yung ating B, kung mapapansin natin, yung mga dart natin is concentrated on the center of the dartboard. Ibig sabihin daw nun, accurate siya kasi accurate daw yung tira niya. Lagi daw doon tumatama sa sa bullseye. And at the same time, it is precise kasi yung kanyang tira is lagi niya nabubullseye. Hindi lang daw Hindi lang daw swerte yung bullseye niya. Sa bawat tira daw niya, bullseye daw siya ng bullseye. So, siya daw ay precise. Ito naman kasing isa, bawat tira niya, doon lang nang doon pumupunta kaso nga lang hindi siya maka-bullseye. So, ayun. Yan daw. So, yung letter A, inaccurate and imprecise. Yung letter B, accurate and imprecise. Letter C, inaccurate and precise. And letter D, accurate na siya, precise pa siya. Remember, yung ating accuracy is in relation to the true value or dun sa inyong target. While precision is in comparison with the value that you are getting. O, ayun. Yun ang pagkakaiba nila. Now, in mathematical model or mathematical models depend on the assumption and approximation made by the modeler. So, nakadepende daw sa atin, gusto sa nagmo-model. We can lead to unavoidable numerical errors, lalo na kapag manual solution yung ginawa natin or by hand. Therefore, models should aim to be as accurate and close to the true value as possible. O yun, in numerical methods, dapat accurate tayo. And at the same time, the errors associated with both calculations and measurements can be characterized with regard to their accuracy and precision. Dapat kasi, since we are just approximating the value of the true value, we need to have an approximation which is accurate and precise in any method that you are going to use. Kasi yung accuracy and precision, that will tell you if your solution will converge or will become true to all the values that you are solving. O, ayun. So, since time na, I'll stop my discussion in accuracy and precision, and next meeting, we will be discussing numerical errors, sources and types of numerical errors, and the formula na gagamitin natin in approximating numerical errors. So please have an advanced reading on this, and also I'll be discussing roots of equations or solutions to polynomial equations or any functions regarding its roots. So have an advanced reading on graphical methods and bracketing methods. Under bracketing methods, we have the bisection method and the false position method. Lahat ng yan madidiscuss natin, matatapos natin next meeting. So have an advanced study on those. So that would be all for now. We'll continue our discussion. Next meeting, face-to-face tayo. Be here 7 a.m. Maaga akong pumapasok. Ayun lang. See you next meeting. Thank you for listening. And sino pala yung mga, before I end, I'll just have a quick, maglalabas, mag-attendance ulit ako. Benson, dumating?
Yes po, sir.
Okay. Cantos, nandyan pa?
Opo, sir.
Cariaga?